Just a second. Can you see now? You can see now. So I'm
Omega
Oh,
service host. We're here. I see.
good morning.
Morning.
Is the microphone working? I guess to begin with, we'd like to call this to order this meeting of the Kentucky Commission on Human Rights. Our first two items of business is confirmation of a quorum as well as confirmation of public notice.
Public notice was sent and we do have a quorum.
We're pleased this morning to be in Paducah holding this meeting here. The commission has talked, at least for the last 2.5 years that I've been on it, about moving meetings around the state. And we're really appreciative of the opportunity that Paducah extended to us to hold a meeting here. And at this point, I'd like to welcome and let him speak to us, the mayor of Paducah, Mayor Bray.
Morning, everyone. Chairman Burse and entire Kentucky Human Rights Commission, on behalf of the City Commission and all the citizens of Paducah, we want to welcome you. We really appreciate having the opportunity to host you here in our offices and in our city hall and in architecture that we're very proud of here in the city of Paducah. The city of Paducah has been working very hard in the area of diversity, inclusion, and we have just repopulated our own Human Rights Commission, of which many of our members are here this morning. They're very anxious to get started, and I know that they're going to require some guidance, mentoring, and support from this commission. So I just wanted to, state that going in. But we're just really, really proud of a lot of the progress that we made here. We believe that our community is really, in order to move forward, we have to embrace diversity and work it into our culture. And it's a long, hard battle, but we are on that journey. And we so appreciate all of you all being here. And I just want you to feel warmly welcomed by all of us.
Okay, well, thank you.
Okay.
It is indeed a pledge and honor for us to be here today. And, we've talked to several of your citizens whom we know, and they speak very highly of the leadership that you're providing. And I want to commend you on the re-implementation of your local commission in terms of the work that needs to be done and all of that. So again, thank you for hosting us and welcome and having us hold this meeting in this space. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
In addition to the mayor, the county judge executives in the room, Mr. Joe Rourke. You have to wave your hand. Okay. Okay. And circuit judge. Okay. Okay. Well, I got that now. They would get that. I'm reading from notes that were given me. I do a pretty good job of reading notes. The other thing that want to, in holding the meeting here in Paducah today, we invited all of the cities in Kentucky who had a commission to in fact have those individuals be represented there. And as I understand it, and Cynthia can recognize them, we have the executive director or persons from other human rights commission in Western Kentucky.
We'd like to recognize and thank the members of the Franklin Human Rights Commission. Dr. Donzella Lee is the executive director, if you would stand. And Wanda, also, I don't have the list. Yeah, okay. We also have the newly appointed Hopkinsville Human Rights Commission Executive Director, Rachel Farmer. Recognize her. And we thank you all for supporting
Okay. And continuing on the recognition, we spoke that Mayor Brace talked about the re-implementation, the reestablishment of the Paducah Human Rights Commission. And we have at least, I'm given at least 3 names of individuals who are on the commission, Krista Dubrock, Robert Hernandez, and Anthony Walton. So we'd like to welcome you all to this commission meeting as well. And, you know, I would be remiss if I didn't recognize my friend, colleague, co-worker, and all of that, and that is J.W. Clary, who leads the Paducah branch of the NAACP. So J.W., nice to be in your community today. Okay, next item of business is there any public participation? Have we gotten any notice from any?
We have not.
Okay. In that case, then we move on to the next item is the consideration approval of minutes of our meeting held on June 15, 2023. May I have a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any opposition? The minutes are approved. We now move to section reports, and first section to report is the Executive Director, Cynthia Fox.
Good morning again. I wanted to kind of skip around my report. You do have my report, but I wanted to let you know that we are still meeting with HUD and with the Office of the Inspector General with HUD, and we should be getting a report soon with their findings of the audit of our intake process at the commission. We've also been meeting with EEOC staff, Jeremy Sales, and we are working toward training staff to be able to input all of their case information into the EEO system, which is ARC. And so we're starting to transition that as well. One of the main parts of this meeting this morning is our personnel section. I wanted to first tell you all some sad news for us, but great news for him. We're about to lose our managing attorney, Joe Dunman. He will offer some comments later if he chooses. But Joe will be leaving us. His last day with the commission will be on Friday. We are pleased to announce that our new managing attorney will be Colt Sales, who will be managing attorney effective Monday. And we're excited. We're sad to be losing Joe, but we're excited to be moving forward with Colt. I also would like to announce, she's not here, but Marianne Taylor has been promoted to staff assistant. She will still continue to supervise the education, outreach, and intake staff, but she has taken on some additional duties. And what we plan to do is to seek another intake position with the vacancy that's created. And it's a longer process than when we thought that it was going to take. We also would like to welcome back to the Kentucky Commission on Human Rights, Cedric Irvin Jr. Cedric, if you would, he used to be an housing enforcement officer. He has returned as the enforcement supervisor, and we are excited to have him back for his expertise to get all of our new housing employees on track. We have had several employees attending professional development sessions. There were several employees that went to the Indiana Civil Rights Commission's annual conference. We've had housing enforcement officers attending mostly online sessions. And we have had staff also attending mandatory trainings that are put on by the state that we must have. The last thing that I wanted to discuss is the case closures. You have a list of case closures. We have 18 cases that were submitted for my review and approval since our last commission meeting on June 15th. I will tell you that two of those cases. One is 1256 PA, Legs versus Huddle House Central City, and 9525E, Brown versus Hitachi Astemo Americas, Inc. Were both assigned to investigators because they requested, after this was done, they requested reconsiderations and got that information back into us within that time. So they have gone back to new investigators for review. We are still having building issues at the Hayburn building. We still have no air in some places and very little air in other places. We have set up a site visit for Winnington Parkway. We will be going to look at that site. I included in the commission book information about how they determine if it's an emergency situation for us to move. We're being told that we're not in an emergency situation at this point. There's several steps that have to occur, but we are taking steps to try to see where we can go. The Whittington Parkway is the only place that they have given us as a suggestion to go, and that's available for, would be available for us sooner than later. So we will be looking at that site on Wednesday morning. And we also, just to let you know, as far as outreach, partnerships, and recognitions, we did provide letters of support as requested on behalf of the Hopkinsville Human Rights Commission. Also to the Hopkinsville Human Rights Commission, we presented a Foot Soldier for Justice Award to the family of Lewis P. McHenry. And we had staff that also attended their 60th anniversary on July 15th. And I'm available for any questions that you may have on my report.
Any questions for Cynthia?
I have just one quick question. So what do they consider a state of emergency, especially when the heat when the heat goes up and you have no air conditioning?
It's not that, when I ask for clarification, they're not saying that us not having air is not dire. What they're saying is there's steps that have to be taken in order for it to be determined that it's an emergency. OSHA needs to be contacted. OSHA needs to come out to the building. OSHA needs to do a report. OSHA needs to, there's several things that need to be done and sent back to them before it's determined that it's a state of emergency.
Is there a cost for getting them to come in and do the report?
I don't know. They have not, nor have they said if there would be a cost. If it is determined it's a state emergency, are we going to have to foot the bill for us to move? And for our understanding is we will have to foot the complete bill for us to move.
There was, I guess in the board material, I guess there were emails, but it was so small, I couldn't read any of the
We'll get them bigger
information
for you.
in terms of where it was, but I guess I'm at a loss to understand that after basically many, I guess, almost 2 years of problems with the building and more than 14 months as it relates to air, how much more you need to do. And usually when you bring OSHA in, OSHA comes in for a lot of issues and problems beyond just what you said. And if OSHA comes in, we don't have to pay for it. The state pays for that. But they can be pretty harsh. And why at this point in time, given all the complaints that have been at least given to them, that they would say we have to bring OSHA in at this point. I guess I have some real concerns about what Real Properties is doing and how they're responding to what I consider to be life safety issues in the building.
Well, in addition to the HVAC issues, we've also had multiple issues with access to the floors that we're located on because of malfunctioning elevator.
Right.
That's what I was gonna say about the elevators. I mean, you get on one, you don't know whether you're gonna make it to the floor that you're going to, and then do make it there. It's a gap between, you trying to get off the elevator. The direct spots, there's a lot of other things that's wrong with that building other than the air conditioning, but I pray that y'all can move.
Any other questions as it relates to the building? Okay, on your report, case 9380E, which is Sanders versus Mill Creek Elementary School, it was settled, but what was the employment issues associated with that?
Do not remember. Was this settled as mediation? I think it was settled through mediation. Yes, it was settled through mediation. And I don't have that available, but I will get that to you.
Okay, I guess I just like to know because it involves Jefferson County Public Schools and it's an employment issue. And so we hear, at least underground, many of the employment issues, and like to know what this one was and how, and we know it was resolved with settlement, but at least needs to know more about that. Any other questions from any other commissioner as it relates to the executive director's report?
Well, only one. Is there anything that we can do to commissioners to be supportive of you with the situation with the building? Is there anything that about homework assignments or action steps that we could be of assistance with?
Well, it definitely wouldn't hurt for them to hear from our commissioners as well as the staff that about the issues with the elevators and about the issues with the air. So we can, if we can try to set up a meeting, if you all would, if anybody wants to attend, we could try to set it up.
Who's going to do the walkthrough on Wednesday? You're going to Whittington Parkway, not the building
No.
itself. Okay.
No, we're going, the Whittington Parkway is the space that's available,
Okay.
the vacant space that we've been told that is available. We have not set up any meeting dates with Real Properties or Brian Hoover at this point.
If there is a letter campaign that would be useful in that regard, if we could simply have information on to whom it needs to be addressed, maybe with some bullet points, I'm more than happy to do that if you think it's helpful to get us moving in the right direction.
We'll get
You
that.
you know, with the previous executive director, a letter was sent to Real Properties. I think I, as chair of this commission, signed on to it. And I'm not certain how far that went in terms of addressing the issues or whatever. But again, you know, we're in a sort of a lull in rainy Paducah and rainy Louisville today. And you look at the weather forecast, they said the heat's going to return next week. And so I think it's incumbent on us to respond. And if you could set up a meeting or something with Real Properties for some of the commissioners, I think some of us are willing to attend that meeting to address the situation.
I think it's important to note that as far as the government's concerned, it's not an emergency till they say it's an emergency. So whatever steps we have to take, whether it's OSHA, whatever hoops we have to jump through, even if we solve this with Real Properties, would be valuable to bring to the table, having the government acknowledge that. Because it doesn't exist if they don't say it exists.
Okay. Any other questions on the executive director's report? Okay, let's move on. Next item is the budget and personnel, and Brenda going to do that online.
Yes.
Good morning. How's the volume? Can everyone hear me?
It's fine.
Okay, good. You have my report before you. I will add a couple things. In response to the high temperatures last week, we did request not an office closure, but requested additional teleworking options when the temperature is over 87 degrees through the personnel cabinet. We have installed applications on our laptops that allow us to make phone calls using our work phone through the Avaya VoIP system. So we certainly appreciate your all's help, and we're muddling through, but it is going to be a hot, next probably, we've got a good 6 weeks to go at least. As far as the budget goes, the fiscal year 23 and 22 in the financial portion are for the complete fiscal years. So you can see that we were a little bit over fiscal year 23. Obviously, that was in part due to the 8% raises, but we were $125,000 under budget. That was more than completely due to unfilled positions during that time period. So we expect that that won't be the case in fiscal year 24 going forward. And I'll take any questions at this time.
Any questions for Brandon? Brandon, the roughly $126,000 that we didn't spend in the past fiscal year, we're not going to lose that. In some manner, you have encumbered that in the coming fiscal year, right?
Well, 124,900 is federal funds, and that'll roll forward. We're gonna lose about $900.
Okay. Well, good.
I got as close as I could this time. There was a technical situation that would not allow me to spend that last $900.
Okay, because we can use all the funds we can get. So,
Surely, yes.
no questions for Brandon. I guess we'll, Samar gonna do the mediation.
Sana.
So,
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me?
yes.
Great. Sorry I couldn't be in Paducah today. The report is before you. There are just a couple of updates to that report. The report indicated that there were 5 cases in which scheduling is in process. Since I filed the report, 6 more have been added, so 11 are in the process of being scheduled. And the report indicated that there were 4 mediations that were currently scheduled. 2 of them have already happened, July 24th and July 28th. We've scheduled 2 more on August 20th and 30th. The report indicates that since the last commission meeting, 2 cases have been successfully mediated. Both of the ones that were in late July were also successfully mediated. The outcome of those 4 cases were as follow. There was a disability case that settled for $15,000. That was an employment case. There was another disability case. This one was a public accommodations case that settled for $800. And with the addition to the entity, the responding party making some changes to their facility to accommodate people with disabilities better. The cases at the end of July, one settled for $500. This was an employment case, but with just 1 day on the job, in addition to some remedial actions taken by the respondent. The case on July 28th, an employment case based on discrimination based on disability, also settled for $3,000 with the addition of some favorable terms to the complainant with respect to no higher terms. Any questions?
Any questions on some mediation from any of the commissioners? Okay, before we go to the next item, I just want to note that in addition to the commissioners who are here in the room, we also have online, I think, 2 commissioners, if I'm looking right. Commissioner Ann Cheney is on, and I think Commissioner Henry is on. I can't see.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So we now move on to the enforcement unit report. You gonna do that, Cynthia?
I'm happy to be giving my last enforcement branch report today. Thank you, Cedric. I'll answer any questions that you may have on the report. I will let you know, as we discussed before, we're going into the last 2 months of our EEOC contract. We are on track to meet that contract. We're also working with EEOC with some partnership training. And so One will be sending out some information about that, about the new Pregnancy Workers Act that's coming out, that there will be a training that will coming out soon. And we will make sure that you all get all that information for that. I've kind of gone into education and outreach. That's part of what we're doing with our EEOC. I know that you all have noticed that we haven't made a whole lot of movement with our housing cases. That is changing. We have already started to have, our new investigators have started closing cases, and I want to applaud Ms. Rolanda Hamilton, who just recently conciliated her first housing case, and it will be shown on the next report that we have.
Any questions on the enforcement report? I have several. Okay, one I had highlighted was the average age of the housing cases. I know we've been short-staffed for quite a long time. We didn't meet our HUD contract requirements for the past fiscal year. And I think in terms of going forward, we may need, or at least I would like to see more detail around us making progress in terms of bringing down the number of days that those cases are outstanding. It's good to hear that, you reported, at least based since the report, one case being impacted. And then when I look at what we have is data on the average, which means that half are above and half are below.
Yes.
And if you do that sort of arithmetic or mathematics, we got some housing cases that are more than 2 years old.
Yes.
And, we've got to figure out how to crack the code in terms of being more effective in terms of doing that. And so, to the new staff that's coming on board to do that and is already on board to do that, you got a tremendous load that you're going to have to carry. And the expectation is that you're going to carry that.
And we have, as I've mentioned before, I meet weekly with Isabel Marrero from HUD. And one of the reasons that we were so excited and really wanted to get Cedric Irving back in is Cedric has that background. He knows housing, and he will be able to coach, guide, counsel all of the new investigators to get through those cases. And one of his first tasks will be to not only look at the cases that they have now, but any past cases that we had that we believe are closed, but just weren't put into the system. So he'll be reviewing all of those cases to see where we can go, and the ones that can be closed and a disposition made, we'll do it as soon as possible to get that review.
Okay. Similarly, on the employment cases, in terms of our number of cases, and I know we get new cases and we have cases that we resolve, but in terms of the number of cases it's been flat for almost a year in terms of where we are and the number of days that they're outstanding. Similarly, we've got to figure out how to crack the code in terms of moving more of those cases. And I think, as we've said before, or at least discussed, with the upcoming session of the General Assembly in January 24, we're now in the season where you start submitting budget requests, and information is that we probably need to do a better job of presenting what it is that we're required statutorily to do and what we're able to do with the funding and staffing that we have, and maybe shine a brighter light or spotlight on the fact that we're charged with large responsibilities, but do not get the resources to, in fact, fulfill that. And if this commission is going to be effective, we've got to do that. Mayor? Yes.
Thank you. So one of the issues that came up in our decision to repopulate our board and whatnot was kind of feedback that we'd gotten from the community. Our board was dormant for a couple of 3 years. And so cases that would come up, people that would want to be heard, we would just push them up to the state. And we really at this point don't know what that means, but we got some anecdotal feedback that there was, follow through was not very much. And again, it's anecdotal. So I know our new, new commission will be following up on that, but we need to understand as we go forward, our commission does, what their responsibility is, I guess statutorily, in terms of hearing cases, or making sure that cases get heard, making sure that follow through takes place at the state level. So we would like some guidance. I know the new commission would like some guidance on how to orchestrate all that. So.
And we spoke with Mr. Hernandez yesterday evening, and we made sure that he understood that we will work with him. We provide training to the new commissioners that come in, our education and outreach staff. We'll go through the process. The process would be involved in referring cases to the commission. Any technical support that the Paducah Commission needs from us will be available to provide what it is and how we do that. So yes, we have been speaking with him. We spoke with him
Great.
yesterday evening.
Thank you very much.
Could you also further explain to them about enforcement powers that local commissioner do not have in some?
Right.
Because that was a question that came up. I spoke with Pastor Henderson, Commissioner Henderson about that.
The majority of the local human rights commissions do not have investigators and they don't have enforcement powers. So what they serve as kind of the gatekeepers from the other communities. They refer complaints to us. And what we will be doing is we'll make sure that everybody has the training that they need so that you know what we need in order to file a complaint. Make sure that you know the statutes, the protected classes, all of that information that we need in order to file a complaint. But we will provide that training to any local commission that wants that additional training. We'll make sure that you have that. And if you have any questions about anything in particular, if someone comes to you directly and you have any questions, you can always reach out to our office and we will respond to those questions. We may not always have an answer or the answer that the person that you're speaking with is looking for or wants at that time, but we will get an answer for you. But we do, yes, sir.
You do it at the mic, so
Please.
get a
If you
report.
would, you don't need your name, thanks, Cedric, just, no.
So in the few days that I've been here, there's already been progress on looking at closing some of the cases. Some of the cases that can be closed, some of those that are reaching 2 years or close or over 2 years. Some of them was issues with losing the complainant. How long do you have to reach out? So there are some technical questions that were there as to why some of those cases are still open, but actually can be closed. There probably will be questions on some of those cases when they do close, as far as the complainant dropping off or what attempts were made and things like that. And I'll be ready to answer those questions when that time comes. But there has been progress already. So some of those older cases that you see in the housing aspect probably will be closed by the next commission meeting. So I just want to let you know the update.
Good news.
Yes.
And I guess the other thing, and thank you, Mr. Mayor, for your comment, is that we probably need to document in our files and in our budget requests that we're getting from local commissions asking that we take on or at least support what they're doing. And if we get, those kinds of requests across the geography of the Commonwealth of Kentucky, when we go to the General Assembly, then that geography of Kentucky has to respond to it. So, let's just keep plugging away at it. But thank you all for that. Any question from any other commissioner on the enforcement report? Okay, next, education and outreach.
Juan will do it
Juan's gonna
for
do
Mary.
it. Okay.
Good morning, this is Juan, Human Rights Specialist. Ms. Mary Ann Taylor asked me to give her report for the Education Outreach and Intake Unit. I believe you have the report with you. If you have any questions, I would be happy to answer. If I don't have the answer, I would just refer to Ms. Taylor. But I just want to point out that Ms. Cynthia Fox already mentioned that we have a training online training for local human rights commission in reference to the new law known as the Pregnant Workers Fairness Act that came into effect on June the 27th of this year. And so Mr. Jeremy Seals with the EOC is going to give us training. And Ms. Cynthia Fox, I'll send you the information so you can pass to the commissioners. But all local human rights commissions are invited to participate online. And I would just echo that we have the experience, the human power and Human Rights Commission to provide training to local human rights commission. So just let us know. We can give you a 30 minutes presentation, a 3 hours, 4 hours presentation. I like the 4 hours one because you really get into details and give you examples to have a good understanding what you can refer to the Kentucky Human Rights Commission for us to be able to follow a charge of discrimination, because most of the cases that we receive, it can be just unfair practices, wrongful terminations, but not necessarily mean unlawful. So again, it's we're here to provide that training. Any questions about the report?
Any questions for Juan?
I just have one question. Will you all be participating in the state fair this year? Setting up.
No, we won't.
Not a bad idea.
No more questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Juan. And then the next is legal unit report, and Joe's gonna give us, and Joe, I'm not a happy camper, but anyway.
Well, I'm glad to have disappointed you. I'll briefly discuss our legal unit report. You have it before you. There are a couple updates to make to that legal unit report. The first, I'm happy to announce in the case of 2073H Thompson versus Jones. That was a pretty long-standing housing case that we've been litigating. It was successfully settled at mediation this past week. Congratulations to Colt Sells for his work there. That was a case where the respondent dug in their heels for a very long time, and we ultimately got a result that the complainant was happy with. So we have success there. Another note, still no word from Joyce Turner versus Norton Healthcare, which we filed an amicus brief in at the beginning of last year. Kentucky Supreme Court is still deliberating. And then finally, Louisville Jefferson County Metro versus Chelsea Nelson. That's the photographer case where she does not want to serve all of her customers. They had oral argument last Friday, but interestingly enough, she has moved out of the state to Florida. And so now there's a procedural question whether that case is now moot. And so at oral arguments, the court took a motion from Metro to remand and then dismiss it, and they are considering that motion. As I noted in my report, this will be my last meeting with you all. Also, my last day is tomorrow. It has been a great pleasure to serve the Commonwealth of Kentucky as managing attorney. It's been good. When I joined the commission in March of last year, there had not been a permanent managing attorney for about 2 years, and there was a lot to do. We got rid of the case backlog that we had. We filed some amicus briefs that I hope have a positive aspect on the results of some cases. And we took a larger role. I filed the first regulatory updates of the commission in 30 years. Those are currently pending and should take effect in January, assuming that the legislature does not get mad at us. And I think the legal unit is in a good spot. We've had a lot of success through settlements, mostly owing to my successor, Colt Sells. But I think we've had a lot of success. I am excited to turn over, which is not the key to the city of Paducah, unfortunately, but is the key to the hottest office in the Haber building. So Colt, congratulations on your promotion. It is very well earned. And I'll answer any questions you all have, but I'm happy. I'll be joining my alma mater at U of L Law as a full-time tenure track professor. As I came to the commission from Morehead State, where I was a professor for 5 years, I'm happy to go back to teaching, but I will miss it. So thank you all.
Thank you.
Any questions for Joe? Let me say on the record, Joe, that the transformation in the legal operation at the commission over the last almost almost 18 months has been absolutely phenomenal. And you have made a major impact in terms of this organization, how it operates, its level of engagement and involvement. You created some big shoes that Colt's going to have to step in and now do and work. My request to you is, now that you go into the University of Louisville, you will have an infinite number of students available to take on projects, and hopefully you would include this commission as one of your top priorities for those student engagement. And I know your interest in the areas in which you have practiced and where you'll be teaching will not wane, and we want to be your partner at U of L in terms of going forward. And Colt wants as many of those interns as he can get to work on things.
They have already stressed to me that I am not actually leaving and that they will continue to hassle me. And so I'm looking forward to it. I'm happy to help the commission any way I can.
Okay, well, thank you. Any comments, anything from any commissioner as it relates to his departure? Okay, well then, thank you. Thank you
you all
again for
very
your
much.
service.
Hope your new office is much cooler.
As a member of the University of Louisville Board of Trustees, let me tell you, some of those offices are not that cool sometimes. So that concludes our section reports. We now have committee reports, and I don't think there is any committee that needs to report. Next item is new business. Any new business to come before the commission? And then our next commission.
I got one thing.
Yes.
I spoke with Director Fox about this yesterday evening, but with the recent announcement by the president on a centralized plan to combat anti-Semitism, and with a recent, was it a conference that you guys went to? What was in
Yes, we went to
Baltimore?
a FIFA conference in Baltimore, Maryland.
Where they spoke about addressing anti-Semitism. I had the idea to put out I think what should be a series, but starting with one, to reach out to some communities that might not realize the scope that the commission covers. I mean, the commission doesn't just cover race issues, they cover discrimination for accessibility, discrimination for gender, discrimination. I mean, there's a whole myriad of issues that we cover. And to encourage people to reach out to the commission to begin with anti-Semitism, and to find ways to reach out to communities, let them know the commission is here to help. I plan to work with the director on that in the coming weeks.
Well, we appreciate that. Any other business or what may want? You know, our next meeting is scheduled for September the 21st. And, you know, currently that will be scheduled in Louisville. The only proviso or statement I would make regarding that is that prior to our September meeting, the term of 4 of our commissioners will end, including your chair. So I don't know whether we've been contacted by the governor's appointment person as it relates to reappointments, non-reappointments, or any of those things. But that's something that we need to be quite aware of and at least work with the office in terms of those.
We're on the lookout. In the past, what has happened is the commissioners stay on until they're reappointed or replaced.
Right.
So you'll just continue on if we don't hear.
Okay.
Hopefully.
You leaving us?
Let's put it this way. My term ends on September the 12th. And as she said, I will serve until I'm
Okay.
either reappointed or replaced. How about that? Okay. In closing, or getting ready to close, let me again express my appreciation and appreciation of the commission to the city of Paducah for hosting us, inviting us into your community, and for your level of engagement with us, and particularly for your engagement in terms of reestablishing your commission and the work that it's doing. And we look forward to working hand in hand with you in terms of helping to develop your commission. Stepping in where we can be helpful in terms of doing it. And we're always as close as a telephone call in terms of any issues that you may have. We have a full-time staff that works on these issues, and they're available to do whatever needs to be done. So again, thank you for hosting us. We've enjoyed your city, and we're going to enjoy some more over the next 2 days. you know, I enjoy coming back to Western Kentucky, you know, in the height of the 2020 summer of protest and all of that, and people got hung up on Juneteenth. I reminded them that I was from Western Kentucky, and we've always celebrated the 8th of August. So we don't know where this Juneteenth stuff came from. I also told the governor of the Commonwealth of Kentucky, and he didn't like it, while he was contemplating signing that executive order celebrating or making Juneteenth a holiday, that why don't you make August the 8th, because the people in Western Kentucky celebrate on August the 8th. And so we're glad to be in Western Kentucky, celebrating what we have celebrated for hundreds of years. Not something new that, you know, Texas can be Texas, but Kentucky can be Kentucky. Paducah is not the only city that celebrates the 8th of August. Russellville has a big celebration. Franklin has a big celebration. Crofton used to and sometimes still does have a celebration. So there are lots of those celebrations going on across the Commonwealth of Kentucky. And then we're also in Paducah today, and that is because of our fellow commissioner suggested, recommended, and said, you need to come to Paducah for this particular point in time. And so I'd like to express my appreciation to her and to her chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha, the Beta Omega Omega chapter of AKAs. We really appreciate the hospitality that you have extended and continue to extend. And we're really happy to have been here with you and we'll be with you again, some of us, for the next couple of days. So again, thank you. With that, okay, I was just looking around, see if any commissioner wants to say anything before I close
If I
out.
could just add, between Dr. Saar and Karen, the work they put in, making everything work was tremendous, and thank you guys both.
Okay, no other further business to come before the commission. May I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to
adjourn, sir.
It's a second, moving second that we adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes and we are adjourned. So again, thank you for your hospitality.
Beta Omega, make it come forward.